Hey, friends. Welcome to another empowering episode of the Self-Love Strong podcast. Today, we have the honor of speaking with Val Barschaw, an author, advocate, and expert in hospital preparedness. For over 30 years, Val walked alongside her husband, Bill, as they navigated the complex and often overwhelming world of medical care. Waiting for her husband's heart transplant, through her journey, she gained overwhelming, invaluable firsthand experience. Val, I don't know how I got mixed up on my lines while I was reading, so I'm going to start introduction again. sorry. I'm going to start it again. I messed up. I want to make sure I get your introduction. It has a lot of good things in there, so I want to make sure. Hey, friends. Welcome to the Self-Love Strong podcast. And today we have a very special guest. We have Val Barschaw, an author, advocate, and expert in hospital preparedness. For over 30 years, Val walked alongside her husband, Bill, as they navigated the complex and often overwhelming world of medical care. Waiting for his heart transplant, through this journey, she gained invaluable firsthand experience about what truly makes a difference in a hospital setting. Not just great medical care, but also the right knowledge, mindset, and support. Now Val is on a mission to empower others with the wisdom she gathered. Her upcoming book, Surviving the Hospital: 6 Secrets Every Patient Should Know, is a game changer for anyone facing a hospital stay or care for a loved one through their medical journey. Whether you're preparing for the hospital, supporting a loved one, or simply want to be better informed, so it's filled with invaluable advice. So let's welcome Val Barschaw to this show. Thank you so much for being here, Val.
Oh, thank you so much, Samuel, for having me. It is truly my honor to be here, and I so appreciate that you're willing to risk your time with me, and that really my mission to help others, you see clearly that is a valid purpose, and I so appreciate you for it. Thank you.
I appreciate you having the courage to take that on that mission. I think many of us, we all end up in the hospital, and it could be overwhelming. It just thinking about it was overwhelming. So can you take us back to the beginning? What was it like navigating the medical system alongside Bill? So can you take us, back to the beginning? What was it like navigating the medical system alongside Bill, your husband?
So the it was complex. In one word, it was very complex. And there was a sense of despair and overwhelm and confusion. All those things were the first to enter into your mind. But I was so grateful for Bill, because what he did once he was told his initial diagnosis, which was idiopathic viral cardiomyopathy, big mouthful, didn't know the word, couldn't pronounce it, but his cardiologist who diagnosed him initially gave him a very dire perspective that if he didn't receive a transplant in 6 months, he'd be dead. So all that came crushing down on Bill, and he had the strength to drop to his knees and regain his faith. And that to me was the miracle of Bill. This man was not yet my husband. He was a coworker and someone I knew. And I heard he was in the hospital, and I thought, well, what's going on? And I just didn't look at him as my soulmate. But that conversation that he had with the doctor so reminded him that our life journey is not just in our hands. God is a very significant part of that. And when Bill was able to recognize that, I was able to recognize Bill. And so the first part of our journey was that he reconnected to his faith. And then through that, we were able to connect through supporting one another. One of the first things they said is he would need a support group. When you've been given a very dire diagnosis, you're not meant to go through that alone. And so I volunteered to be a member of his support group. And then through that, the doctors did their part. Amazing medical team. And they were able to get him on a new medicine regimen, try some other methodologies to prolong his life while he waited to receive a new heart. Now, that journey took 10 years. When they initially told him he'd be dead in 6 months, then it took 10 years for the journey to come to fruit to actually receive that heart transplant. During that 10-year period, Bill and I grew closer and closer, and halfway through, we became husband and wife. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the care that he received and that his faith helped carry him. So in that 10-year journey, we learned a lot. And as I was writing the book, I was sharing a chapter with Bill and saying, read this, what do you think? And he would say, did that really happen? Oh, I don't remember that. And that is normal. The patient themselves is going through so much, they don't remember everything going on around them. So having that support, whether it's a spouse or a caregiver or a support group, like Bill initially started with, is so crucial to a successful outcome. So what I reminded Bill is, it's okay. You didn't need to remember that. You had one job, and your job was to stay alive. So you do your job, and I'm going to do mine, which is to support you. The doctors are going to do theirs, which is to help get you better. So it's a huge effort. So that's where it began. It began with a dire diagnosis and rekindling his faith. And then we just trundled on down that road and have tons of stories that go with it. And in 10 years of just that one medical element, there's a lot. What I took away from that was there's a simpler way. And so now that Bill will be celebrating his 25th anniversary of his new heart, I wanted to be able to bring that to others to help them in ways that will make it easier to navigate. And so literally my expertise through the trenches came to know how to best navigate the hospital setting. So I broke it down into 6 simple steps. Would you like me to share what those are, just succinctly?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love for you to do that.
Okay, because I can talk about this for hours, but I want to make it the best for your audience too. But there are 6 specific steps to chunk it down to make it doable. You want to do it, you're facing a lot. But the first step is get yourself a notebook. Take notes. Being prepared means you're going to have to do some research. If someone throws a word at you like idiopathic viral cardiomyopathy, who's ever heard of that word before? So take some notes, write it down, and do some research. Now, those notes are going to go with you throughout your journey because you'll develop new questions along the way. So having a notebook so you can write them down, take the notebook with you to doctor's appointments and ask the doctor, hey, doc, mind if I take some notes while we talk? You'd be amazed how the doctors so appreciate a patient who's in it with them. They're not just getting care, they're a partner in care. And having your notebook and having some pre-prepared questions or just jotting down ideas, the doctors really do appreciate that. So step one is to take that proactive approach. Step two is to be practical. You're not a doctor. You don't need to know the Latin medical terms, but you do need to be practical. So when you're being practical, you can take control of one of the most important things that hospitals want you to do, and that's to know your medications. So when I researched what is the leading cause of hospital mishaps, and there are over 2.5 million preventable hospital errors in the US each year. So that's a lot of mishaps. But of the leading 3 causes, one of the leading causes is medication mishaps. So the patient being practical, okay, you've done some research, you've learned what you've got, you're going to be in a hospital. So how can you be practical about that? Know your medicines. Absolutely a game changer. And I'll share a story. So one of Bill's hospitalizations, and there were many, he was going to be scheduled for a procedure. And because of that, and because he had a heart situation, they had him on blood thinners, but he had to discontinue blood thinners before the procedure, a week ahead of going into the hospital. So he's there in the hospital bed. In the morning, the nurse comes in and goes, morning, Bill, and got your medicines for you. And she holds out the medicines, to which Bill always knew to ask, let's go over each medicine one at a time. We'll do this together. And as they were going through the medicines, lo and behold, the blood thinner was in it. And when she says blood thinner, and Bill just kind of looked at her and she's like, oh no. And he goes, good that I asked. And she was so grateful that he had asked. And he didn't do this to point fingers to make anyone feel uncomfortable. He knew he was being practical. So step 2 is be practical. Know your medicines. Step 3 is to be diligent. So again, there are things patients can do and their caregivers to give the patient the best possible outcome. And germs, I got to tell you, they're everywhere. We can't get away from them. Germs exist. And we have an expectation, I found, that we tend to think, oh my gosh, I'm in the hospital, it's clean. Well, guess what? Germs don't know you're in the hospital. And germs are going to pounce on you every chance they can. So you have to be diligent and give every surface an extra wipe down. Maybe it got cleaned or maybe it didn't get cleaned well. And of the 3 major preventable hospital issues, hospital germs rank in the top 3 because you can acquire an infection in the hospital you didn't have before you went in. And the reason this made it in the book is because it happened to Bill too. He acquired an infection when he got moved to a hospital room that wasn't cleaned.
No.
So then we had to get through that infection. And when a patient's already sick, sometimes those infections can really pull the carpet out from under them. So step 3, be diligent.
Mm.
So now I'm going to go on to step 4 because we're covering the 6 steps. Step 4 is be humble. Don't be embarrassed to ask for help. And where I really saw this was helping my mom. And my mom was too prideful or embarrassed. I couldn't be inside her head, so I don't know exactly which one it was. But when the doctor was asking, okay, please tell me how you're feeling. And, oh, I'm doing okay. Well, on a scale of 1 to 5, what's your, or scale of 1 to 10, what's your pain level? Oh, it's just a 5. Well, actually it was a 10. And one of our experiences, when she had said a 5, they said, okay, well, you're going to be waiting here for a while. The pain was so intense, she passed out from the pain. But she couldn't bring herself to tell the staff that she was in that much pain. She just felt that she wasn't supposed to. So it's okay. Just be humble and acknowledge, I really need some extra help. I'm in a lot of pain. And that's okay. And use your voice and be honest, be humble. God teaches us, tries to teach us to be humble. And yet in our humanities, we try to push that away and be brave. And that's not going to get you the best possible outcome. And I'm not saying be a crybaby, but be humble and be honest. So that's step 4. Step 5, be prayerful. And what I witnessed, the power of prayer, not just in bringing Bill and I together as a married couple, as a committed couple, but I saw the power of prayer physically help the hospital staff. So this story, and again, I don't mean to just keep going on and on, but it was so powerful and moving that one of another hospitalization trip, there unfortunately had been a staff error that prevented Bill from going into his scheduled procedure. So they said, okay, Bill, we're just going to you just get to wait another day. No food, nothing by mouth. You're on an IV drip. It's just going to be another day. We'll get you the procedure another day. Except they had another error. So instead of being the second day, they said, now it's going to be the third day. And he hasn't had anything to eat and just the IV drip. And rightly so, he's getting a little cranky. And he's reminding me, now don't make a big deal about it. They're coming at me with needles, so I want everyone to be happy with me. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Well, then the third day they came in and they said, we've put you in for this procedure, but we don't know when we're going to get to you today. So just hang tight. Okay. I left the hospital room and I went and had a chat with the staff to say, you need to elevate this up the ladder because this is his third day now without food. And he's already weak. So please help him to get into that operating room. And I was I recognize the staff have a lot on their plate. And I wasn't trying to be difficult. I was trying to get Bill the help he needed. And he really wasn't in a place mentally to ask for it himself. So I said, well, what will it take? And I said, well, the dean's in a meeting. And I just said, so does that meeting have coffee or muffins or donuts or cookies or any food items in that meeting? Is the dean able to receive sustenance by mouth? Because if so, will you just deliver a message that I'm personally asking him not to take anything by mouth until my husband can again? And that conversation had an impact. The message did get to the dean. And a little while later, in a suit and tie, the dean came into Bill's hospital room. And he wheeled him down to the operating area. And I was in tow. And the medical staff saw the dean who was pushing the gurney. And they knew he's a paper pusher. He's not a gurney pusher. What's he doing pushing the patient down here? Well, they were scrambling to get that hospital surgical room ready. They were scrambling. So the dean just deposited Bill on the gurney outside the room, outside the surgical room, and I was at his side. And at that moment, I looked at Bill and I could see he was struggling. And I just said, "Sweetie, let's pray." And that I knew I was doing for him and I. And we just held hands, and I just lovingly, we said a prayer quietly, but out loud. We said it. And the lead nurse saw us praying. And at that moment, she just breathed this huge sigh of relief. And that was the biggest aha moment for me, because our prayer wasn't just showing that we had faith in God. We acknowledged we needed help from God. And that nurse, that moment, she knew that Bill's surgical procedure was going to need all the help it could get. And she too was relieved that we had faith. So I don't tell people that they should have a particular faith belief. I know what mine is. I know what my husband's is. And I respect that other people may have a different faith belief than we do. But I am a witness that our faith changed another person's life and gave them strength and confidence to go into that surgical room and help Bill get the best outcome he could possibly have. So that's part of the truth to help get the best possible outcome that I know to be true. And so I've included that as step 5, be prayerful.
Yes.
Step 6, and you're part of step 6, Samuel. You are one of the great blessings for step 6, which is to show gratitude. I am so grateful to be able to be here in my mission to help others. And I am so grateful for you to let me be here. And so step 6 is be grateful and know that you are in the place that you're meant to be. We were meant to be in that specific hospital because that's where Bill had to be to eventually get his heart transplant. And when you go into a hospital setting and you're nervous and you're thinking of all the things that could go wrong, remember you're in the best place you can be and be grateful for that. That mental approach, that mental attitude is so important. And so I remind people in my book that there are ways to show your gratitude. Might not dawn on you, particularly when you or your loved ones are so focused on the surgery itself, but be focused on how later you can go back and tell them thank you in person. When I was going in for a surgery and I had Bill in the pre-surgical discussion with the nurse and I said, my husband is a heart transplant recipient. She, oh, he is? Oh my goodness. She said, he looks fabulous. And he does. And she goes, it means so much to us to see a successful outcome. I'm so glad he's here. And going back and sharing with the team, the nurse, or even a different team altogether, that you're grateful to be able to move forward, that means so much to them. And so in my book, I actually took a lot of information and different ways to show gratitude and thank you cards. I'm a huge proponent of thank you cards. But just little things you can do to say thank you. Bill was asked to be an experiment on a drug that the FDA was trying to get cleared for approval. And given, and again, part of his 10-year journey, his PAP, pulmonary artery pressures, had gotten really out of control. And they were trying to find a new medicine that they could get him on to prolong his life. And so he agreed to be part of this experimental drug trial. And so what I did before he went into the hospital for this 3-day trial is I made this decadent chocolate cheesecake. I brought it with us and I gave it to the nursing team. And I said, here's something for your break room. And oh my goodness, did they appreciate that. Not only was it delicious, but they appreciated the acknowledgement that they like to take a break every once in a while. They have a tough job. And by my bringing that chocolate cheesecake in ahead of time, as Bill was getting into the room and asking them, just put it in your break room. It's for you. It's not for Bill. It's not for me. It's for you. He got the best care. He said those nurses all came into his room with a big smile on their face because they just had a piece of great cheesecake. And it's just something so simple that we can do. And yet most people don't know to think about that. So having gratitude is so huge. And showing that gratitude outwardly, even if it's 6 months later or 6 years later, it makes a difference. And so those are the 6 steps. I've covered them all. And I invite people, if they have questions, if they have a struggle, I put my website out there to help others. And I encourage people to go out there and if they want to shoot me a question, I'll gladly help them if I can. I'm not giving medical advice. I have that caveat. I have to be sure and let you know I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. Mostly I give communication advice. If we have a good communication avenue with our medical team, we'll have the best outcome we can have. The outcome may not always be what we want, but it's going to be the best that it can be. And so I encourage people to find out how they can best communicate. And if you've never gone to a doctor and had a real kind of earth-shattering diagnosis, I remind people, don't eat raw onions before you go to the doctor. And they're like, what? I said, yeah, treat it like a dating relationship. You want it to go well. Treat it like a first date. You want it to go well. You want to have them to want to have you back. So go in there and thank them and don't eat raw onions before you go in. It'll make a difference because, if you need to have that hamburger, have it without the raw onions. Just go in there knowing that you want to make a good impression. So I've shared a lot. Like I said, I could talk for hours. This is my passion. And And I want to answer any questions that you might have that you can think of that might be helpful to cover. I've got humor in some of the stories. We developed our own language that we used to balance some of the stress with humor. It was our own internal language. And also, we never left our faith behind. It was always forefront of our conversations. We began each procedure, each hospitalization, we began with prayer. We end with prayer. We're so grateful, so grateful.
Man, so such a powerful story, Val. Such a powerful story.
Yeah,
such a powerful story, man.
Yeah.
And I want to hear what you're going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions it brings to light. I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here for your audience.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much. So, man, you're so much experience through. It's really a powerful message. Like, I love how you said we're partners in collaboration. Like, you go to the doctor and we feel like the doctor is the end all be all. But I love the part that, hey, you're a partner in this journey. Like, we're powerful as a team. You're not just a patient, but you can be your advocate as well with the doctor.
You got it. Exactly. If you just walk away with that nugget of knowledge, you're so much better off than you were before. And the doctors so appreciate it. And that they need to hear thank you. They just need to hear it.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So what advice would you give a caregivers or someone who's supporting a loved one through that long-term medical journey? I know you gave us those 6 steps, but
so probably the most important advice is the communications and learn how to listen. And that notebook that I launch with, get that notebook. The caregiver and the patient can each have their own notebook. So the patient may have a thought run through their mind that's a different thought than the caregiver's. So when the caregiver jots down those thoughts, the caregiver can make sure to do research, perhaps, if that's what's needed, or to bring up that conversation a little later. So something could happen and you're both kind of caught unaware. And I'll share another true life story. So Bill had gone in for a procedure. His cardiologist, and know that we absolutely love him figuratively, great, super doctor. And he went in and he was running this testing. And after the test was over, told Bill, wait there in the waiting room where I was sitting, and I'll come out and discuss the tests with you. And there was another couple in the waiting room. And the doctor came out and he said, well, Bill, I've got to tell you is you can't have a heart transplant. You're too sick. We couldn't transplant you. And so we're going to have to remove you from the transplant list. It was breathtaking. I mean, it takes your breath away. The other couple that was in the room heard that and they were mortified. So they did reach out to us later and say, can we help you in any way? Well, what I had to do as the caregiver is I was driving Bill home and I was saying, honey, remember, that's an obstacle. We need to find a way to overcome that obstacle. It's not going to stop us. It's just slowing us down. That's all. It's just a slowdown. Doctors do the best they can, but I believe it's in God's hands. So let's work forward on this. Bill couldn't hear a word I said. He was too much in shock. So the next day, he made an appointment with another cardiologist because he couldn't get in to see that one so soon. But so he made an appointment. He says, it's an emergency. I need to come in. I don't know where to turn and I need some help. So he went to that initial doctor that diagnosed him years earlier. And he went back to him and he said, Doc, I was just given the news that they're taking me off the heart transplant list because my pulmonary artery pressures are so bad that my lungs would kill a new heart. What can I do? And the doctor just said, well, you'll have a heart-lung transplant. That's, we'll overcome that obstacle by making a twofer. And then he looked at Bill and he said, but Bill, remember, we're doctors. We don't have all the answers. God has a plan for you. And I looked at the doctor and I looked at Bill and I said, wait a minute. I said that just yesterday and Bill didn't hear me. But when the doctor said it, Bill heard every word loud and clear. And I'm so grateful for that doctor because he has faith and he was willing to share that with us. And so then Bill goes back to the transplant cardiologist and says, okay, so are you going to get me on the heart-lung transplant list? Is that going to be the plan? And he came forward with a positive attitude and a plan. And the transplant cardiologist goes, well, let me look into this. And he goes, wait, we got another medicine. Let's put you on that and we'll put you back on the transplant list. So good end of the story, but the advice, the number one advice is keep moving forward. Put your faith in God, if whomever that is for you. Be diligent, be practical, be humble, be grateful, and keep moving forward. So that's what I would tell anyone is you're there for a reason. We may not know what it is, but put your faith forward and move forward.
And that's beautiful. I love this story, just of faith and resilience through those challenges, man. It's just, but I really love your 6 steps because they're so powerful. A step that's outside of you. It's all within your control. And I just love how, there are things like we were talking about that simply are overlooked. And I love the fact, how it goes down so much control. I think when we find a setting, we feel like everything's out of our control. But I love the fact that you give 6 steps that give you more power in those challenging situations. Because just navigating the hospital sounds overwhelming to me. You made it tangible so to ingest. It's like, man, I have power in this situation where I feel most people feel powerless.
Mm-hmm. You're right on. Exactly.
Wow, Val, this is just truly a blessing and honor to share this story. Because when I heard this story, you said your husband was on a transplant list, and when I hear transplant list, it says I'm thinking he's going to get one next week. But to hear that it came 10 years later, I think is so powerful for people to hear because the doctor gave him 6 months. It was a 10-year journey where something I'm like, what? That's how the transplant list is so, it's like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know what people are thinking after hearing this powerful message of faith, resilience, and having these game tested steps. Like I love how you said, I'm not a doctor, but you have just as powerful as a doctor, lived experience. Where can listeners connect?
Yeah. So to connect with me, it's really easy. The website is hospital2health.com, and 2 is TO. So hospital2health.com. I have some free resources there. I have a way to reserve a copy of the book for when it's released. And if they get on the list for the reserved copy, they'll get advance notice and of that. And then I'll continue to answer people's questions. There's an email, hello@hospital2health.com, and I'll gladly help in any way that I can.
Wow, Val, truly a pleasure speaking with you today. And thank you so much for just the knowledge you shared. If you had to give somebody a final message, if you had to, what would it be?
Have faith. When you're going to the hospital, you're in the best place you can be at that moment.
Man, I love that, Val. And that's so true. Like Val said, have faith through the process and know that you're in the right place for the right reasons. All right, friends, man. Like I said, I'm gonna make it super simple for you guys. I'm gonna put all the links under this episode so you can go pre-order Val's book. You can join her email list. You can stay in connection with her for sharing her knowledge or having the courage to share her story. And don't let this be the last time you hear from Val. Follow her on this journey. Things are just getting better. And if you can think of somebody that needs this knowledge, share it with them. Let them know that even though they're navigating something so challenging, that they do it alone. And it says that it has been proven and battle tested through that process. Thank you so much, Val, for your experience, sharing your knowledge, and just sharing your story.
Thank you.
All right, friends. So like you guys, like I said, make sure you follow Val on all her socials. Follow her on her, and make sure you guys get that book and share it with a friend. All right, friends, take care.